Hello everyone, and welcome to another video of Confronting Chaos, primer videos to chaos fights where I go over the enemies, notable units on the event's banner, and why I chose the units that I did. In this video, I'll be going over the Emperor Lost Chapter chaos fight, so let's get into it. This chaos fight is two waves, with the first wave against a Swarmfly family, and the second wave against two Ferrum scorpions. The small Swarmflies are rather low in HP, and will easily go down to any form of group HP damage. With them dead, the mother Swarmfly will prioritize reviving them, basically giving you a free turn to do damage, and you don't even have to kill the small flies to end the fight. The trigger is the mother. In terms of attacks, they're not scary at all. You may get hit by poison and maybe a speed down, and it may get in a moss bite which can battery their party, but any solid team should be able to get through this wave fairly easily. The Ferrum Scorpion is the main boss for this fight. They are only immune to poison, which I find funnily appropriate since they seem to be made out of metal, Pokemon types and all that. Their signature move is more so a sequence of moves. As a primary action when targeting themselves, they will raise their tail, and then from there they have a few options. If they continue targeting themselves to buff, they will raise their bravery on next turn, and then immediately with instant turn rate go into Ferrum Laser, which deals split HP damage to the party after raising bravery again. If they're targeting one unit, they'll do Armor Sting, which has higher turn rate when breaking or attacking a broken enemy, as well as having a plus version with an HP hit. With their tail down, they have access to other single target and group target brave attacks, but no brave into HP attacks. With the enemies covered, I will quickly go over the noteworthy units you can pull for this event. As a character, Emperor's highlight are his traps, which he applies as debuffs onto enemies with his attacking skills and trigger either when the debuff expires or when he uses an appropriate action without removing the debuff. His skill 1 applies a single target trap, his skill 2 applies a group target trap, and his EX adds another group target trap as well as the other 2 traps, totaling 3. His LD gives him Hellish Gale, which first triggers all 3 of his traps on the main target whether or not they have the debuff active, and then does 8 group hits with 50% splash HP damage. It buffs him with Subjugation Scheme, which raises his attack, initial bravery, overflow, and grants him brave regen, which is really handy since his brave shave without any traps isn't the best. The LD passive raises his attack as well as granting him brave and HP 3+ variants with Subjugation Scheme active. These have one more hit compared to his 2+ versions from his EX+, but more importantly, trigger and preserve any active traps on the target before doing their own brave hits, greatly improving his on-turn damage while also improving his longevity and preserving his off-turn damage. As for the team I chose, here's the breakdown. Kefka and Emperor together are technically not the best combination here, but you know, sometimes you just gotta give them a shot. Emperor applies up to 3 frame debuffs, whereas Kefka always has at least 1 frame debuff. While Kefka's whole collection of debuffs is great to have on an enemy, they obviously can't coexist with Emperor, and having all 6 of his debuffs would absolutely ruin Emperor's day. Thankfully, you can keep up Trine's HP silence long enough to frame it, and Emperor can still get off an EX cast and get all 3 of his traps onto the enemies. It's not the best, and honestly not so sure why they put these 2 big debuffy boys together in the same event period, but it's not the worst thing in the world. I got Kefka's burst in my tickets for Emperor LD, so my quick thoughts on that are that it's more of a utility burst right now, since he gets another cast of all his debuffs which lets him reset in a bad situation or just freeze the enemy even more. Since his skills don't have that many hits on them, the damage he's going to be putting out in each action of the burst phase isn't super high, but the finisher is nice since it's total damage as well as the field effect boosting the HP damage done based on the number of debuffs on the target. If you want to know my thoughts on Kefka's Corp kit, feel free to check out my discussion video here, and I'm working on a video for Emperor's kit too, so stick around if you want to see that when it comes up. Selphie tags along for a few reasons. She can heal, she has good auras, she offers a defensive buff and wall, her aura buff speeds up EX recast, which is super handy for Emperor in particular, and she has no debuffs. Kefka and Emperor are also fairly light on buffs, Emperor gaining a third with his LD and Kefka only has 2, so the buffs from wall and aura slotted in pretty nicely. With that, this chaos fight should be covered. If you want to see my footage of this fight, I'll link it in the corner and in the description below. If you liked what you saw and want to see future fights, subscribe so they show up as they're made. If you have any suggestions or thoughts, drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.